Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Dutch Guy's Garage, and on this episode we're going to set some things on fire. Hey guys, welcome back. Got our lower control arm out here and took it over the press and pressed out the lower control arm bushing. As you can see, this one it's seen some days. It's seen some things.
I've seen some things.
So, got that pressed out, and I was gonna have my buddy powder coat these, but he doesn't have his powder coating oven done yet. So, I think for now we're just gonna sandblast these and get them cleaned up a little bit, and just hit them with some POR 15. So it'll be good enough for what we're doing. We're not going for Concours restoration. So this will work for now. This will get us around the track. So we'll take our upper control arm over to the press. Those ones you actually got to build a. Let me grab it over here. The strut rod, actually, that's what I call it. The rod that goes in between here. That's got to be in when you press the new bearings or new bushings in. So what I do is I got a couple pieces of cut rod that I put in between these ears, because these things aren't built very sturdy. So when you're trying to put a lot of force in these, you might be able to twist them. We don't want to do that. So I just take two pieces of cut rod, stack them in between there, and press the new bushings in. So, but we'll get these old ones out and go from there. Guys, we're gonna get this control arm bushings out here.
The always efficient flamethrower.
Fire. Oh, there's something about a nice campfire in the middle of January. Yeah, it's January now. I'm just sitting here burning some nice control arm bushings. It's nice. Gives off some nice heat. Figure I'd take you guys in here before we get into it too heavy. Like we covered in the past video, there's a lot of rubberized undercoating. We're going to take all that off. It's nasty. Hey, what's this? What did somebody leave over here? Ooh, tasty treat. Alright, so we got our control arm back from being burnt out. Slid the rod back in.
That's what she said. Or he said.
Make sure you get the metal sleeves off of these. They don't always come off the easiest. So, but they have a nice groove in the middle of them, so you can smack a screwdriver in there and loosen them up, and vice grips, yada yada, get those off. So, got our new control arm bushings in there. I lubed them up with some grease and slid our rod back in the center of them. The rods, I got these grooves in here, which you'll be able to see. That goes down if you weren't paying attention. So, yeah, we'll take this over to the press, get these pressed in here. Greasing them really does help. And then I got some rods that I stick in between here, because this thing, it's not built the sturdiest, so you get to pressing on it and you might cave the old arms on and make a big old thing of spaghetti. So yeah, we'll get those rods in there. I gotta find those. I don't know what exactly I did with them, so I might have to make something. So get those put in there and get these pressed in, and should be ready to go back in the car. And I got grease everywhere.
Everywhere.
Because yeah, why? That's just, yeah, it's gonna be on me, my hair, my shirt, on my steering wheel, probably on the camera, and Probably my kid. Yeah, it's gonna go everywhere. So we'll go over to the press. All right, guys, we got our ball joint removal, install, whatever you want to call it today, kit. We got this all set up back for install, and now these kits are kind of tricky. I don't know if my head was in the way for that. I hope it wasn't. But they come with all different kinds of cups and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, press the ball joint in. Like I said, I always lube these up again. Gonna get grease and lube everywhere, like I always do. So, but yeah, press them back in, and that's a whole new bushings, new ball joint. That's ready to go back in the car. So let's get that back in the car, and we'll go from there and get the front end all back together. All right, guys, I want to give you a little tech tip here. We got our newly redone lower control arms with our newly pressed in ball joints. The boot issue. You see, the boot, it doesn't just slide on. I've seen a lot of people that will go crazy and get a socket and try and beat this on. You don't have to work that hard. So what I do, just spray a little bit of lube on it. Don't go crazy. Just like anything else, it'll slide on there. So, yeah. So, just that easy. All right, guys. We went ahead and got our lower ball joint here all tightened down. 15/16 socket on this one. Slid our cotter pin through after it's all lined up. This one's torqued down to 100 foot-pounds. So we'll go ahead now and align our top one here. Go as tight as you can with the ratchet. Grab your torque wrench. Wait for the click. You're gonna want to look at your hole to make sure it's lined up, which it looks like I'm real close. So, got that lined up. Take our cotter pin, slide that through. See if we can zoom in a little bit for you guys. You can see our cotter pin is currently bound up a little, or bottomed out on the knuckle here. Bend the tabs out a little bit. Slide it through. Now you're going to get 50 different answers on how to bend a cotter pin. I don't know which one's right.
And that's a Joe Exotic prize.
But the way I've always done it is bend it around the nut. So that's done. We'll do our bottom one too. This one's a lot easier to get to. And there's both your ball joints in. Don't forget your grease certs up here and below. And we'll move on to getting our spindle greased and we'll move on to our wheel bearings and how to grease those and get the whole rotor and brake assembly, and I got new calipers and new rotors and all that stuff for it. So hang on just a moment. Alright guys, one of the things I didn't have the camera ready for was this lower control arm. The proper way to install that is to take your torsion arm bolts, tap them out gently, because remember they're splined from the last video. You line your lower control arm up, put your bolts back in for the torsion arm, and get that tightened up, and then you'll be able to work this back and forth to get your lower control arm pivot bolt in, which is a 3/4 on both sides. And if you try and put the bolt in before the torsion arm, you're going to do a lot of fighting. Doesn't really work out. So again, remember these torsion arm bolts are splined, so don't put your impact on the top or else you're going to mess it up really bad. So that's how you get the lower control arm in, and then that's also torqued to 100 foot-pounds. So, but you get that in and then you go on to the rest of it. We have our new rotors here. These rotors that we got actually have the races already pressed into them, so that saves a lot of time. You are going to reuse your rotors. Do have them turned. These are so cheap.
Are they cheap?
That it's just made fiscal sense to get new ones since our old ones were so shot. But yeah, like I said, these already have the races pushed into them, so that makes it real nice. They're quite heavy, don't drop them. So next step we need to do is getting our wheel bearings ready. So I already took this one. This is the outer, comes with the race. Don't need the race, so I took it. And then this is a just a cheap ball joint, or not ball joint, wheel bearing grease tool. So it's got a, pretty much any auto part sells this, but it's got a grease cert in the middle. Send your wheel bearing grease into that, builds up on the bottom. This is a little push thing. You set your wheel bearing in there, tapered side down. The cups are all usually formed already for that, so you can't really screw it up. And then you just push on it, and it shoots the grease up into there. You know you're good once it starts coming to the top, really. And yeah, and it'll take a couple pushes. This one I already kind of pre-did a little bit, so you didn't have to watch a fat guy struggle.
That guy in a little coat.
Fat guys do struggle. And yeah, so once you get that greased, I'm going to go over and get that set into the rotor there, and then get our seal put in, and our outer wheel bearing. I'll get that greased, and then we'll get that on the spindle. Now, one thing of note here is your seal. As you can see, it's got a really large rubber side, and the other side doesn't stick out as far. The larger rubber side actually goes on the facing towards the outside of the rotor. So yeah, don't mix them up, or otherwise it's pretty self-explanatory, but the other side will be open. So when you go to press it in, tap it in, I mean, bigger dust shield will be sticking up. Alright guys, one of the things I wanted to note, because not everybody has factory service manuals or whatnot, so what I did is I wrote down a little cheat sheet. I'll leave that on there for a few seconds, that way if you guys want to pause the screen and maybe write some of that down. But that's all your torque specs for the whole front end, directly out of the factory service manual. I'm always a big fan of torquing everything exactly how the factory wants. That way you don't have any problems. Ooga doogas are for some people, and they're just not for me. I always was taught just to put everything back to how it should be torqued. Then you don't have any problems. Some things you can get away with, but when it comes to your front end and being able to go down the road, I don't take no chances with that, especially with my wife's gonna drive these cars and everything, so I just don't like to take no chances like that. So hopefully that'll help you guys, and that's what we're gonna be torquing everything to. So alright guys, we got a rotor on with our back seal in, our inner wheel bearing and our outer wheel bearing with our retaining washer and nut. I'm going to show you guys how to set your preload on your wheel bearings. Give it a spin, and then you just keep spinning it while you tighten it. And then what I always do is go as tight as you can, and then I'll back it off a quarter turn. So that's how you set your preload. So you can see there's no shimmy or shake to anything. So that's how I always had done it, had good success. You can go over and torque it to 275 inch-pounds. I have my inch-pounds torque wrench over here. So this is how I always do it. As you can see, there's no, no real resistance. So that's done. We'll get our dust cap put on there, and that way that's all sealed up. And we'll get this rotor cleaned back off with brake clean from dirty hands and whatnot. We'll move on to putting our caliper bracket back on that we cleaned up, and then our new caliper, brake hose, and all that goodness. Alright guys, we moved on to our shocks. We used Monroe's this time.
It's cheap.
Apparently Monroe's don't come with cool stickers anymore, which is rather disappointing. So somebody from Monroe's is seeing this. Put your stickers back on stuff. Come on now. Jeez. So I like to pre-assemble mine. Got this rubber bushing. You'll see it's got a flat side and a tapered side. Tapered side goes up, you know, into your control arm. It's got a little recess for that. Put your washer on first. Same thing with the bottom. I did this one for show, and so I'll take you guys over here and see, we actually already got this one in. As you can see, the it's got you got 4 rubber bushings. You put the other ones on the top, cinch them both down, top and bottom, and remember that tapered side always goes into the control arm, whether it's top or bottom, and that's how you put the shock on. So we'll move on from there. We'll get our caliper back mounted over here and get that properly lubed. A lot of people forget to lube the caliper. They'll have sticky calipers and wonder what the problem is. So we'll jump into that next and go from there. All right guys, we're back to our caliper install, and we went ahead and pre-lubed our caliper. Everybody always forgets to lube these. That way your brake pads aren't sticky. So make sure you do that. You can get that at any hardware store or parts store. This is O'Reilly stuff. And compress the caliper piston a little bit. Get your outer brake pad in there. I already have the inner one on there. And you assemble your clips like that. And then we'll go ahead and tighten that up, or put our hose back on, and go from there. Tech tip for you: your upper ball joint socket that we used up here, that 1 59/64, also happens to be the perfect socket for your dust caps. Fits over the ridge, and then you can tap it in really nicely and not have to worry about destroying all this with a rubber mallet. So that always sucks. Hey guys, well, we got our front end back together, got the tires on, we adjusted our ride height with the torsion bars, and got her sitting down pretty low. Low enough where our cherry picker is having difficulties getting in there. So we're going to have to jack the car up a little bit, or raise the torsion bars a little bit. The ride height's at like 27 inches right now from wheel well to the floor. So we'll figure that out. But that's how you do on the front ends on these, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something doing it. And so, but special thanks to Junior at Project Deadpool. You can find him on Instagram. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and all them other places under Dutch Guy's Garage. So stay tuned for the next video. We're going to do a segment on how to pull one of these 360s out. I don't know if it's going to be the hard way or the easy way yet, but we'll figure it out. So If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can see our latest up and coming videos, and get out there and get something done. They don't move until you do.